Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
I like to come up with a song on the radio.
YFM.
Listen to YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 in Takoradi.
This year, we launched the Y Leaderboard series on the mid-morning show, and it's been a journey to say the least. We've learned a great deal this season and have been inspired by the various life stories and experiences. So let's take a look at some of our best moments, shall we? It's not every day that we have royalty in the house, so we were privileged to have Oheneyere Gifty auntie as our guest, who gave us a humorous peek into her relatively new life as a royal. Check it out.
His mom.
Yeah.
I remember it's clicking somewhere around Nyankrum. I'm not really sure. In Nyanmem, yes. Wow, that's like.
Yes. That's
my hometown. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I have chills all over my body now. Wow, goosebumps.
That was 2006. My mom died a year after my dad died.
I think it was right somewhere around Ghana 50.
Yes.
Just around. Wow.
Yes.
Anyways, may her soul rest in perfect peace. Now, let's get back to the title, right? The Oheneyere title. Does it come with certain customary responsibilities?
Oh, yes, it does. It does. You know, I haven't spoken about it, but anyway, I wrote it in my book, so I can talk about it. My husband, if you know him, I call him, he's like Kunta Kinte.
Okay.
He believes everything tradition. So he actually made sure that I went through the whole. So when I'm upset, I'm fighting. I said, because you want to make it difficult for me to leave you. That's why you made me go through all that, you know. But I went through some, rituals as well. A sheep was slaughtered on my feet, the blood, just to symbolize that you've been set aside. And when they're traditional, it's just like the biblical process of blood cleansing you, and using a sheep meaning the spirit of humility as well. I become the mother of the town, so the children, the old people are my responsibilities, not take care of them, their welfare matters. There are other things that I'm involved in. Of course, I don't get involved in chieftaincy matters as well. If they say anything, I'll be consulted on the side if I can speak some words into my husband's ears. But then when the kings and queens of Edumasa are seated, I'm not part of it. But most of the time I'm invited, because my process, as I said, is something that set me aside. I was installed, I was made to sit in front of the traditional queen mother of Akwemu.
Okay.
So I went through the process of, being installed like a queen mother. The only difference is that I wasn't, kept in a room to go through the process, and I don't come from the royal family, So it gives me some kind of extra privileges, to be able to interact with the elders.
You are like the consultant.
Kind
Pretty
of.
much.
And, basically, it's also because of who I was before I got married.
That makes sense.
You understand? So I always say that, I say this with all humility, I had my crown before I became Oheneyere.
We believe that leaders come in all shapes and sizes, and from various industries and backgrounds, and we relish the opportunity to show this diversity in the series. One person who embodies this is retired footballer Tony Baffoe, who walked us through his humble beginnings and introduction to football. He was also open and frank about his stellar football career and the not so glamorous side of growing up black in Germany.
But sometimes when I didn't have money in my pocket, I will go into the bus or the tram and I'll not pay. So when the controller comes, I will run. But the difference was that I was running to school.
Okay.
So these were my early days coming up, because a lot of people thought I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but it was not like that. And you have to learn how to hustle. This is very, very important. And it gives you a certain life experience. They're not always glory days in life, but It's written in the Quran, it's written in the Bible that before you get somewhere, you must go through a tough time.
That's true.
Rich people also go through a tough time. It can be mentally, it can be spiritually.
That's true.
You know, everybody associates everything to economics, but it's not like that. So prayers are important. Willpower is very important. I learned this also in Germany because most of the times I had to defend myself.
That's true.
Or I had to be twice as good as a white man or a white woman, you know. But I had a beautiful childhood because I grew up in a multicultural environment. And this helps me a lot, you know. I call it intercultural skills. So I call myself very, very blessed. And I've gone through certain tough periods, and you have them at every part or stage in your life. But you can always look back that, hey, I came from somewhere. And I'm happy to be here.
Wow. I mean, this is just the first step, and we're sharing bullets of wisdom already. I'm enjoying it. At what point, right? I mean, I was going to find out your fondest memories growing up, but I think you've mentioned a few things that are quite key. At this point, I want to find out, at what point did football come in? Your love for football. When did it start?
You know, the first time I went to a football pitch was together with my brother Mike, who's 2 years older than me, and my sister Rosalind. She is number 5 in the family.
Okay.
One day she came, and her classmate was someone's father her classmate's father was running a club in Bonn-Bad Godesberg, FC Rings of Godesberg, exactly. And then she came and she told us they're looking for players. Don't you want to go and play football? I used to organize all the street games. You see in the area, like Robert Smith Street against Alex Akume Street.
You were like the organizer?
I was organizing all the children for us to play. And then we went. We went there just with some trainers. We didn't even have football shoes. And when we arrived, you know, we looked at the pitch, and they were standing far away, and the man was waving, "Come, please come." So I went with my brother, and he said, "Oh, you don't have football shoes with you?" I said, "No, we only have trainers." "Okay, there's a big box. Look in there and pick." So there was only one pair, and my brother and myself, we have the same size. And I told my brother, because he was the older one, "You take it." And he said, "No." I said, "You take it." I played with raining boots. It was raining.
Wow.
On that day.
Raining boots.
I played with raining boots. You know, those long ones.
Yeah, the long ones.
The fishermen or
the ones
whatever.
People send to the farm in Ghana.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
You know, so I played. I scored 2 goals. I dribbled everyone.
The boots.
Yeah. And then they came home and they said, "Yeah, we want to sign your brother for the other team. And we want to sign yourself." Like, it was a membership, you know, just for me to sign a membership. My mother said, "No way.
Wow.
He's going to school. He's not going to play football," you know. And then my father said, "Well, if he can combine both, let him try, and then we'll see the outcome." My mom was not pro football.
It, yeah.
You know, football back in the days, was not a really well-seen sport.
It wasn't a prestigious sport?
Yes.
So to say. Okay.
You know, same like tennis. You know, tennis the color was only white, only with membership, but everything has changed.
Yeah.
You see now, big people push the kids to play football. Yeah. So this is how I started playing, you know, with FC Rings of Godesberg for 5 years. And then I went to Cologne and signed for the youth team over there. My mother again, because it was like from here to Tema.
Yeah.
My mother said, "How is he going to get to Cologne?" And then they were explaining that they're going to send me a driver, and he will pick me and 3-4 other boys 3-4 times a week from Bonn to Cologne. So this is how.
That's where it started from.
Yeah, this is where it started.
But I mean, now that we speak, were you the only one in the family that pursued football professionally, or any of the other brothers also joined in, or they dropped it?
My brother stopped after 2 years.
Okay.
He went a bit to athleticism, but then he also stopped. And I think I am very persistent and very focused. If if you tell me I can't jump this wall, I said maybe I will not jump it today.
You jump it tomorrow?
No, or tomorrow next.
Okay.
You see, and this is how I am. When you tell me no, you can never do it, because even in my club and Goldesbeck, some didn't believe that I would make it with FC Cologne. But at the end of the day, in 1983, I signed my first professional contract, thanks to Christoph Daum, who discovered me. And my first professional coach was Rinus Michels, the legendary Dutch coach. So this is how everything started.
Everything started. I want to find out, right? People say that the certain people find themselves in fosters whatever interest that they have. Would you say that the community you grew up in contributed to your growing desire for football? I mean, if you had grown up in another space, would you have had the same interest in football? Would it have been harnessed into what you are now?
I'll use the sentence of Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done. Why I'm telling you this is I never dreamt of becoming a professional footballer. I was just playing football. And when suddenly clubs like Cologne came, you played in the district selection, regional selection. You know, the passing away of my father was very instrumental, because I was thinking, how are we going to take care of mom? And this was the fastest way to make money and to take care of the family.
Yeah.
I'm the fifth born, and with 18 I earned more than my elder brother. You see, at that time it was 4,000 Deutsche Marks, is equivalent to 2,000 euro.
Okay.
It was standard for 18 years old boy. I'm not talking about the sums of today, which is okay, legitimate. This is how the market is, you know. But I believe it was destiny.
Yeah.
You know, many are called, few
are chosen.
So it was destiny, and alhamdulillah, I thank Allah for that.
Back then, I mean, throughout all these days, you were still trying to find your fit with football. How much did you know about Ghana? Did you have the opportunity to travel down along the line?
I used to come and go.
Okay.
And you see, I'm a Pan-Africanist. I love Africa. My heart and my soul is like an African. But my mind, the education, is also European, with a lot of knowledge about Africa. There's certain things I had to get used to. You know, I'm a very straight talker.
Yeah.
But my father-in-law, first my father, he told me when I was going and coming, I was young. And then he said to me, you're going to make it. But sometimes don't try to understand certain things. What he was telling me, don't compare. I give you an example. You see a bus leaving here in Ghana. The bus will only leave when it's full.
Yeah.
In Europe, 7:25 on the dot. He's there, he will leave.
Whether full or empty.
Whether full or empty. It's already a difference in regards to the system. You see. That's why I believe in the African, in the youth, because and I've always admired people who combine education and sports. This is very, very important, because you never know of tomorrow. May God forbid, things can happen, but then you can fall back on education. So, so I was the chosen one.
I like that. Did you at what point did you pick up a local dialect? Did you speak any? You said you're very familiar, you're very good with languages. While you were coming to Ghana and going back, did you learn any language?
Well, I speak Fanti with my mom, but I'm not perfect.
You're not perfect.
I can express myself better in English and in many other language, but a lot of people thought I don't understand anything.
Maybe out there, I want to
Boko, Yaminado.
I like that.
No, but I understand everything.
You understand everything. Yeah. But you can't really express yourself in this, so sometimes
I can, but of course with an accent. But when I speak the other languages, you will not realize who. Like if you talk to me on the phone in German, you will not know there's a black man behind the phone.
I get it.
There are very few people who are known for their love of Ghana and her youth. And one person who has shown this love repeatedly is Dr. Kofi Amoah. His passion for the development of Ghana through the galvanization of our youth is clear for all to see through his creation of Movement for Progress, a non-political union aimed at organizing the youth in a way that helps them flourish.
Introduce them to books that they should read, books that I think will help them and all of that. So gradually it's going on, and then I started feeling that, okay, out of this lot, some of them will be able to make it. But I believe in massiveness.
Yes.
Is this going to help? And therefore, when you think about that, you see that, no, it must be an agenda for the nation. An agenda for the nation to take good care of its youth. Not to spoil them. I'm not talking the youth too. I'll talk about their responsibility to be disciplined and do their part. But as a nation, preparing for your future, you cannot ignore your young people. Okay, and therefore, some people say, well, form a new political parties. I said, no. The problem is not to be found in party politics. The problem has to be put square and center to the citizens of Ghana, that this is where we are. These are the challenges we are facing. Massive joblessness, massive importation, borrowing everywhere up to our neck. When we sell our cocoa, everything that we get, Reverend, all the money that we receive can only pay for the loans and including the grants. When we sell all these in plus the grants, it can only service the debt, the principal. So we are, if you want to do anything, you have to go and borrow. That is the reality of the Ghana economic situation. And therefore, it calls for serious introspection. But the other side of the equation, which is positive, is that we have something to work with.
Yes.
You have enormous resources. You have young people who are willing to work. And they are telling you, I'm not lazy, I'm willing to work. Because 5 o'clock in the morning, they are standing at the roadside. So anyway, thinking about all this, and we decided that we should have a platform through which the youth can exchange ideas, to bring everybody together. But frankly, the final objective of the movement is to influence political selection.
Okay.
In other words, let's take right now, for instance, we are interviewing people to become our president. Election is about interviewing. We want to appoint somebody to become our president. We invest enormous power in that person to do things to help us.
To take decisions on our
Now, as a businessman, if I'm going to hire somebody to do something for me, I want to be clear in my mind exactly what I want them to do.
The deliverables.
Thank you. You put it better than I could. The deliverables. What is he going to deliver? Okay? And what capacity does he have to assure me that he can deliver? In other words, we have turned the things around in African politics. We are hiring the people to come and work for us, but we are making it look like they are doing us a favor.
Exactly.
I built this hospital. You didn't build that hospital with your money. You went and borrowed in my name.
Yes.
I have to pay that money back. And so we must become involved and interested when a loan is contracted. What is it going to be used to do? Now, you can see that we have a parliament that's supposed to represent all of us, and the parliament approved it. So in other words, you also approved it. I can understand that logic. But after a while, things begin to go a certain way, and you realize that are these people really representing my interest? Because I am relying on importation of things from somebody's country. So if they were doing all the right things, why are these problems there? And therefore, when we started, my goal was to see if I can get 1 million young people behind me. Now, we didn't start early, so it's not, but we'll get some.
It's positive.
Yeah, so, and then if we have that, we sit down with the presidential candidates. Say, salute, with all due respect. First, let's thank you, because it's a tough job.
Yes.
Okay? This job that you want us to give you, these are the slate of things that we want done. Okay? We will reduce the joblessness. Yeah, we are hiring you to come and do something. We have to tell you what to do. We sit there and they bring their manifesto, this is where we go, promises and all of that. We have to change the new politics of Ghana and Africa must be the people taking charge of their own future, taking charge of their destiny. And this is not revolutionary. This is what happens everywhere. So, we cannot continue to see the joblessness going. If you want to be our president, we only go for you if you show a credible plan of massively solving the problem. We say importation is killing us. We are importing too, you have to reduce that.
How are you going to go about it?
Yes, exactly. Can you do it? And by doing it means that what we call import substitution. In other words, we are importing these things. It means we need them. But we said stop importing them. It means we should be able to make them inside here. In my opinion, some of you may agree with me, some of you may disagree with me.
So I want to find out at this point, the MFB, focuses on a 5 core area, trajectory, namely job creation. You mentioned holistic education, industrialization, culture and heritage, as well as civil engagement. Please help us shed some light on them and how the movement settled on these objectives.
Yeah. Okay. Like you said, we've talked about the joblessness, but even that, let me expand a little bit. The primary objective of a job, of course, is to give you the income with which you can live on and, to pay your bills and all of that. But there's another, even much more important aspect of a job, and that is human beings need to explore. They have adventurism. They want to be creative. And in most instances, in most successful societies, the job is a place where individuals express these things. Yes. And you look at Africa, it looks like we are consumers of other people's civilization. And it's not because we are foolish or not intelligent. And the reason why it's like that is because we have not organized ourselves properly, so our people can also participate in this human process of creation, of new ideas and invention. So the job is to give you money to live, but also a place where you can explore as a human being your creativity and expand. So that's one of the areas. Then education. You mentioned education. Yes. Education is important in the sense that when you and I were born into this world, billions of people had lived here before we came. Their sense of wisdom, the knowledge that they acquired and all of that, we cannot assume, inculcate all of that, but some of it can prepare us so we don't have to start all over like they did. So education is a vehicle. Now the basic elements of education to survive: reading, writing, arithmetic, because that is to be able to fit in society. So that we must do. But beyond that, people gain skills. You want to be a doctor, you study. You want to be a radio commentator, you want a communication expert. So education becomes important. But for us in Ghana and Africa, we must be very circumspect in the kinds of education that we are giving to our people. If you ask me, probably in the curriculum of our schools, the balance is too much on the social sciences. When Kwame Nkrumah started, that's why we have the KNUST, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And this is very key. It is through science and technology that you know about the materials around you, something that we cannot benefit fully. In Ghana, we've joined all kinds of associations that benefit the outsiders. They can come and sell anything they want to us. But what do we have to sell to them? We don't have enough manufactured products. So please, you ask me a question, is it the politics or the economics? The two go hand in hand. Our politics must reflect the intelligence that to build strength in what we do in our local economy. And therefore, the politics must enhance the economics. And as the economics is enhanced, and we created jobs for our people, we've created wealth for our people are happy, our politics will also scale up to be better.
I like that. So during the launch of, I think I watched on Facebook, the launch of MFP, you discussed the difficulties that Ghana is currently facing in your speech. I mean, you just touched on a few of them, import issues, the borrowing and that. There's the Ghana blueprints, concept that you have. Tell us a little bit more about the inspiration. I mean, the Ghana blueprints, the ideal Ghana. I mean, you've talked about all these things, the problems that we have, but what are we looking at if we're to invest well in all these things, if we're to pay extra attention to all these things that you tackled? What are we looking at?
Good question, Reverend. The blueprint, I know you know what a blueprint is, but for our audience, a blueprint, an architect designs a blueprint from which the builder will look as a model to build a house. So if the blueprint is properly done, then, and the architect and the builder follows the instructions of the blueprint, then the house that is going to be built will be strong, beautiful, and serve the purpose. Now, you look at Ghana's history, we have gone through slavery. There was a time that we sold some of our own people to outsiders. In other words, what is in us that made us do that? Is it self-hatred? Is it lack of unity? Is it lack of pride? That you take your cousin or and sell that person to another person. There's something wrong in our blueprint that made us do that, and we must change that. Secondly, we became colonized. Some chiefs signed the bond of 1844 with the British, and then we were colonized for decades. What is it in our blueprint that makes us behave like that? And therefore, looking at some of the bad things that have happened to us, I have suggested that going forward, in our blueprint should be confidence in ourselves, should be trust in ourselves, should be believability in ourselves, and we must be united as a nation. Because if we have this, then we mean that we are in it together, and it will be impossible for somebody to come from outside to come and dominate us. So that's first thing that I think Ghana must have in its blueprint. The second thing that Ghana must have in its blueprint is the excellence, the pursuit of excellence. The pursuit of excellence by individuals and the pursuit of excellence as a nation, collectively. Because with excellence, your creations become admired, become demanded. And because other people see the excellence, what you do, the outcome of what you do, become more valuable. And if we want to improve the incomes of our people, of our workers, we want to create a middle-class income so that our people will be wealthy, then it means that the revenue we are getting from what we are making must also be high. And we can do that by the pursuit of excellence. And I think we can do that. Okay. The third thing that I think should be in Ghana's blueprint is the recognition that there must be avenues for individuals in the society to make a living. To make a living in the sense that they can provide food, shelter, clothing, education for themselves and their children, healthcare service for themselves and their children. The essence of life falls in the purview of these areas. Now, so if the society, our society in this blueprint, realize...
Patience Akyianu told us of her very relatable story, particularly on how to navigate ups and downs in life and how none of our experiences, whether good or bad, are wasted. She was also very vocal about her belief in education, particularly for the girl child, which in today's day and age points to the future of Africa.
So to go back to my very early years, I'm actually one of 3 girls born to my dad, Mr. Wisdom Kosina, who used to be head of test administration in WAEC very long ago.
Okay.
You know WAEC, right?
WAEC.
West Africa Examination Council. And we lost our mom when we were very young.
Wow,
so when I was about 8. So we grew up just with, our dad. And later on, my dad lost his brother, so he had to take on, his children, his brother's children, to look after them as well. So they were 3 boys, and he added them to us. And we were always many in the house because my dad was a teacher.
Okay.
And so everyone looked up to him from his family. So you can imagine that our home was always filled with people passing through. He educated quite a lot of people. And we grew up as people of faith. My daddy was a very strong Christian and a man of faith. So my recollections, several times saw him praying. And so faith was instilled in me from the very beginning. And he also invested a lot in our education.
Great.
I mean, everything I am right now, I owe actually to my dad, because he didn't make it look like, as a woman, you deserve less. I never, until, let me be very honest with you, until recently, when people ask me, so how was it like growing up? Were you discriminated against, etc.? I never knew that, people, other families, had challenges of discrimination against the girl child, where maybe they will prefer to invest in the boy and say, you will. I never knew, because that didn't even come up in my household. My dad pushed all of us, to excel. And he had pride. He took pride in our shining in school, So I was really very motivated to do well.
Wow.
In school. But he was strict and stern as well. I mean, it was a typical austere everyman. So
and a WAEC man. WAEC,
yes, he was stern actually, and but having so much responsibility and looking after so many people also stressed him. So he was most of the time stressed, and so it wasn't always pleasant, to stay with him. So going to school, I actually looked forward to going to boarding school when I started.
To get away.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It must have been that strict.
No, he was strict actually. But looking back, I think it all helped to form me into the disciplined person I am right now.
Today.
Yes.
You mentioned school. Let's touch on that. What kind of students were you back in school?
I was actually a great student in terms of academics. From the primary level, I recall, always being either first or second. And taking pride in it. One of my earliest memories was when I was first, and then when it came to the speech and prize giving day, for some strange reason, how they give prize to first, second, third, and they will call you, they'll say this, the third prize goes to this, the second prize goes to that, and the first, And for some strange reason, they gave me the third prize instead of the first prize, and gave the third person the first prize.
And you demonstrated.
I was mad, But so was my dad, because he was very supportive of us. So he really took them on. You
got the bronze instead of the gold.
I know. Wow. Can you imagine? After all my hard work.
Now, in most Ghanaian cultural settings, the girl child is often made to believe that she's a financial burden. What are your thoughts on this, and how can we change this mindset to ensure that the girl child is continuously empowered?
I mentioned to you that earlier, these are until recently I didn't even know they I didn't even know they existed, because in my wildest imagination I can't imagine you have two children, some of them are girls, and they are all intelligent. You decide that you are going to deprive because they are girls, and I just can't imagine. I can't think far, so I can't imagine anyone doing that, but I know it exists. And for me, it's sad. It's a big mistake. if you deprive your girl child because you want to save money and she's going to get married. Well, because you remember what Dr. Kwejiri said, why? He said, if you educate a woman, you educate a nation.
A whole nation.
Which is true. You look at, mothers who are educated and are doing well. Their children aspire.
They're empowered.
They are empowered. And actually, without realizing it, they just aim for high because that is what they grew up seeing. And my mother, used to be the MD of this. It's normal. My mother is a writer. The other day I saw one of my friends put on Facebook, Lucy, that her
Lucy
nephew,
Quist.
yes,
oh, wow.
Her nephew was asking, when is your next book coming out? And it was casual and normal. My writing has become like, when are we eating, cocoa? You know what I mean? When are you going to shop? It's so like normal. When are you writing your next book? For children to grow in an environment where writing is normal, writing a book. It's like really normal. It takes a woman getting there,
yes,
to bring a whole nation, if you like, along. So I can't, for anyone who is doing that, really you are depriving the nation,
the whole nation,
of the building materials that it needs for development. Because we are more than, mind you, women are more than 50%, or 51%, etc. So can you imagine 51% of the population not having, equal?
You're depriving the whole
opportunity.
generation,
Yes.
And the next one to come.
And the next, you are depriving generations. Actually, posterity will hold you accountable.
Exactly.
I mean, it's one of those things that when you will be judged. I mean, let me not get into this.
God.
I think I need to stop because actually, you are doing so much harm.
Sometimes life throws you curveballs, and all you can do is hold fast and stay true to yourself and what you believe in, which is what renowned lawyer Cynthia Quarcoo did when she was suddenly diagnosed with breast cancer. It's life-changing moments like these which force us to embrace our authentic selves. It is for this very reason why Cynthia is grateful to God for both her highs and lows.
I heard somewhere that at some point you had to battle cancer.
Yes.
When the news came up, how did you receive it? How did the family receive it? What state of mind were you in?
Okay, so just a little bit of history. I had, at the time, decided to move. I had 6 children. And paying for education in the UK was getting a little bit too much. And also I felt that my children needed the same upbringing that I had, which is exposure for living in Ghana, that rich experience of knowing where you're coming from. So I made a decision with my then husband to move to Ghana. And then as soon as I moved to Ghana, there were challenges. There were all sorts of challenges in the marriage and all of that. And then I got diagnosed. I remember exactly where I was when the diagnosis came. So what had happened was I was working on the Ghana Airways liquidation, advising on the Ghana Airways liquidation, and I used to travel quite a bit to London as a result of that. We had a house sitter in our home. So when I'd go, one of my children had eczema. So she was on a repeat prescription of Oilatum and some other products. And so every time I went to London, I'll go to the surgery and order the prescription so I could bring it back. So I went to the surgery, and I was we used to live at the time in Wellingborough, which was outside London. We were probably one or few families who were Ghanaians or Africans in that region. The fact that I had 6 children also meant that we were quite known. And so the local surgery, I was very close to them. And so I'd go there and I met with the nurse, like, where are the children, how are they doing, and all of that. Then she mentioned, have you done a smear test recently? I'm like, I remember last time I did a smear test. I said, oh, you need to. And you also need to have yourself examined. So she pulled me into her office, and I said, I don't know how to do the breast examination. So she pulled me into the office, had me stand back and then raise my hand, and she showed me how to, and then she felt that she found a lump. So she's like, oh, I think I can feel, anyway, how long are you here for? And I had another 3 days or so. So I sort of will come to London, do my meetings, and then spend maybe 3 or 4 days, go back to my home. At the time, the home, I'd given to a house sitter who was managing it for me. And so I left and came. And then this very day that I got the news, I got a call from the house sitter. A young guy said, you've got a few phone calls from Gold Street Medical Center. And they said it's urgent, can you call them back? So I called them. That's when I panicked a bit. So I called them. back. And lady then told me that the results had come out and the lump was cancerous. Wow. And I remember exactly where I was when it happened. I think I literally went totally blank for at least 5 minutes. And then I went into shock mode a little bit. Wow. Then I went into operational mode, which was, oh my God, okay, I have 6 children.
What happens to them?
What happens? And then, interestingly, I started looking at my stocks and shares and my assets, and then realized that even though I was a lawyer, I didn't really have a will. So please, get a will. Didn't have a will. And I didn't tell anybody.
Why?
For about a week. I found out about myself that sometimes I need to, or most times, I need the inner strength to deal with situations. I have a strong faith, and there's another thing that my parents instilled in me, is this confident faith in God. I'm a Catholic, nothing special, but at a very young stage I was introduced to faith, and so I knew how to pray. But I needed to have that inner strength to deal with situations. So when I'm faced with things like that, I go inwardly. And once I gather that faith, I tell people, because when you tell people too early, sometimes they can discourage you, and they can set the tone for how you deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a bit of a fighter. So once I think the next day I pulled out of course, started Googling cancer symptoms, prognosis, chances, and I also educated myself about it, and then I called them back, started asking questions, the size of the lump, and I literally was first stage, so it was pretty small. It wasn't bad. And then I booked a flight and went back to London, decided I wanted a second opinion, so booked for private screening, and it was confirmed. Then I also decided that, okay, I needed to do treatment. So I think I told my mother in the second week. And then
after you had found ways
around it, and I'm like, no, because I needed to be able to. I'm like, so I remember when I told my mom, she was so shocked, her reaction, I'm like, I'm going to be okay, but it was a dark moment, particularly because at that same time I had separated from my husband at the time, and the children were going through a process, and you had just moved to Ghana, so you pray about things, you make a decision, and you think you've made the right decision, and then you get here and everything
just
you are thinking,
goes south.
What's going on? Yeah. So it was a dark moment, but out of that dark moment, a lot of great things came out.
Did it change? I mean, you mentioned that it was during the same time you were separating from your husband back then. Did it change the way through which the family, functioned? How were they affected by the news?
In actual fact, I had separated. He had asked him to move out of the house a month before the diagnosis. So the children were already with me. He was out. Then he left the country. So in that sense, it didn't really change much. What it did change was definitely the way I relate to my children. It also changed how I thought about myself and life, and my focus and priorities in life. Because when you're faced with death, the possibility that I could die, certain things become irrelevant. And that is where, for me, the cancer journey was the reason I decided I needed to be authentic and be who I was. I don't tell you a story about how when I was in London at that time, I even became bankrupt at the time because I was living for people.
You became bankrupt?
Oh, yes, at the age of 23. I was bankrupt at the age of 23.
A year after you got married?
A year after I got married, because I was keeping up appearances, innit?
Wow.
You're exposed to working in the big shop like that. You want the best for everything, and then you're masking your credit card, and you do all the foolish things that you do at that age. And but cancer was definitely responsible for getting me out of that and realizing that, look, this is me. Take me as you are, and I didn't want to live for anybody anymore. It changed my relationship with my children, and it changed my focus, like value people. You never know where they're gone. So it did change.
Is it fair if we describe that experience, the one that you just tagged a dark moment, as a wake-up call to you becoming who you really are, to you achieving all these things?
Yes.
Because I'm sure,
It definitely, I was definitely an achiever. I had goals, I had ambitions, but it went overdrive mode after that. Because I said to myself, I have I sat down with God and I pleaded with God that you've given me 6 children. I prayed for 6 children. You're not taking me out. And so when I felt like, and being Christian, that's what, when I felt like I had been given another chance, I thought, okay, now let's get this. There's a reason why I'm here. Before, I go down there, I should have achieved. And every talent, every opportunity that I'm given, every person that I meet, I need to appreciate those opportunities and give it the best, because I may not have had that chance. If I really, didn't survive it, then I'd have gone down there with my talents and all those abilities and skills and opportunities. I just wasted it on foolishness. And we often waste our time on so much foolishness,
Wow.
in life. It doesn't, so I set out to achieve.
Inspiring, I must say, honestly. I didn't know it was going to get this deep. But, I mean, after you picked up from, all those, at what point did you decide, okay, now my life is back to normal. I have to go back to doing the things that I wanted to do. Children are there. Everything is fine. I mean, at what point did the flame of hope, get rekindled? At what point did it go back to the normal flame?
So I was cancer-free. I mean, I've had cancer twice. So then the first time cancer-free just before my 40th birthday.
Wow.
So when I turned 40, that's when I came out. I'm like, okay, new me. Included me going natural. And I'm not saying that you have to go natural to be authentic or me. I said, for me, it was a journey. Embracing my Africanness, embracing who I was as a person. My mindset changed. And I used 40 as the stepping stone into life actually begins at 40. And change my mindset.
Wow.
And then just embrace who I was, that I'm different, because society wants to pull you in both directions. You're a lawyer, so you can't do this. I remember when I entered entertainment, I was doing a lot of entertainment work. I had people saying, but why are you such a serious lawyer working with entertainment? I'm like, forget it. I'm who I am, and I have to embrace my differences. We're all individuals. We mustn't. We don't want to be like the next person, So I just suddenly, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, stepped out into a new person. I really believe that 40 was a new dawn. When I thought, okay, I'm going to be who I am. And I haven't looked back since.
You haven't looked back, but when you ever do you regret, or do you wish God had given you a different, would it be 17 years from age 23 till 40? Would you have wished for a different experience?
Never.
Never.
Because the experiences I went through have shaped me. Every single experience that I went through, every single job that I did, every single person that I encountered, whether it was good or bad, was part of the journey.
Wow.
In me becoming what I am today and will be in the future. And we oftentimes there are no regrets whatsoever. My marriage I don't regret it. I certainly don't regret having those 6 children. I don't regret being bankrupt. I don't regret anything don't regret anything. Any persons that I've come into contact with, even the people that at the time I felt, oh my God, I wish I didn't meet these people. Never. I look back because it makes sense now.
Yeah.
There's always a lesson in that opportunity or journey or that encounter, right? And if you think about it, you may have lost that job.
But that is why you're
because
here.
You needed to move on.
Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
YFM.
YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 at Takoradi.